What's up, friends? My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. That was a nasty crash, but, you know, the glide is invincible, and the tune is, you know, not totally at the limit, so you can just smash into shit and fly it home. Welcome to Workbench Wednesday. Let me click a couple buttons here. Patrick's here. He's down on the floor.
Ed McMahon, best to known.
What is that?
Well, he's the sidekick of Johnny Carson. Everybody knows that, you old bastard.
We're drinking Twisted Tea Original. It's disgusting, but it's easy to drink. This is my full-time job. If you'd like me to keep doing this and keep bringing the pain, head on over to CiottiFPV.com. This is what it looks like. Patreon helps me out the most. For $3 whole a month, you can be a part of the collective. Amazing group of people. Access to the Discord channel, audio versions of all these live streams, technical articles over there. You can even get in on bi-weekly giveaways depending on which tier you join. Join the Patreon, or I will attack you physically with fists of fury and torches of fire. YouTube and Instagram, Etsy with some beautiful stickers and even more beautiful hardware, Fiverr with some really fun shit that I'm doing, Teespring for some t-shirts and mugs and sweatshirts, FPV Exchange for all of your selling stuff needs. If you find yourself doing orders on any, oh god, I almost threw up, any one of these websites, just hit this link before you finish your cart, before you finish. Hey! And I'll get free money, 1 to 6% of your entire cart. You still get free shipping, still use coupon codes, all that nonsense. Amazon.com, even if you're buying, like, you know, condoms or some shit. FPV Cycle, Get FPV. FPV Cycle doesn't sell condoms. Neither does Get FPV. Neither does Oh My God's website. But they do sell quad parts. FPV Crate, Banggood, Camera Butter, AliExpress. If you're doing orders on those websites, hit my affiliate link beforehand and I'll get free money, and then I'll waste it on more FPV stuff to give you feedback on. Or the clever folks in the chat here have realized that they've replaced their bookmarks with these affiliate links. So when you hit your bookmark for Get FPV, you hit my affiliate link and it automatically puts my name into your cart, and then you don't have to remember. Because I don't remember to hit my own fucking affiliate link, so how the hell would I expect you guys to remember? This is what Etsy looks like. Look at all these beautiful stickers. If you don't buy some, you'll die. A bunch of hardware.
It comes so easy to you, doesn't it?
It does. I've practiced quite a bit. Here on Fiverr, there's all kinds of good shit going on. I want to help you fly better. I want to help you tune better. I want to help you buy the right parts. And that's what I'm doing over here on Fiverr. FPV flight instruction, we're going to do it virtually through the sim. We're going to do it virtually. Through the simulator, Velocidrone and/or Liftoff, I can help you tune through Zoom or Skype sessions, and I can also help you spec out your build so that you buy the right parts and that you don't waste money and time with garbage parts. What's smarter? Giving a gangly man $80 for an hour of his 4.5 years of knowledge so that you don't buy the wrong parts, or wasting $80+ on the wrong parts that are going to catch on fire and kill babies? That's the wrong button. I'm also working together with FinFPV and Remy Tim. FinFPV is doing flight footage editing. If you want to look like a better pilot than you actually are and you don't want to go through the hassle of learning to edit, FinFPV can certainly help you out. And then Remy Tim is doing FPV mentoring if you've got technical questions and you want one-on-one help, or if you've got somebody in your life that's new to the hobby, Remy Tim can help them from quitting, because, you know, it's a really easy hobby to quit, and pretty much everybody that I've tried to get into it has quit. So link up with FinFPV and Remy Tim for that, and yeah, we can get some more people into the hobby. This is what Teespring looks like, this new beautiful artwork from CMYK FPV. I need to get the dual color version of this up. All of you car guys will probably recognize this. This is a little bit of a ripoff of Hoonigan's Kill All Tires graphics. The t-shirt has my logo on the back, which is just the sexiest goddamn thing in the world, next to me, of course. This is an 18x24 poster. This is a really cool little tote bag so that you can put all of your broken carbon into it, or just anything else you've got. And then this is a phone case, because I need a phone case. Bunch of other stuff here, some mugs. Clam Man, look at him. He's reminding you not to give up in the morning. The NASA ripoff logo, some sweatshirts, The Collective, more Clam Man, Nut Grabber shirt. Come on now, Chomper FPV made the Nut Grabber shirt very famous in his motor explosion video. If you guys see a logo on one type of shirt and you want it on a different type of shirt, like a long sleeve or a hoodie or some shit like that, just tell me and I can do it. I sort of like randomly put different logos on different kinds of shirts to just sort of mix it up. But yeah, if you want a long sleeve shirt with the OG CiottiFPV logo on it, just tell me and I'll do it for you. That's what she said. This is FPV Exchange. If you're not on FPV Exchange yet, you're an idiot.
I'm finally on FPV Exchange. Those F3 motor thingies are on there.
See? There it is. F60s. Courtesy of Patrick Richard Scott.
They're cheaper than anywhere else. Go buy those shits.
See that? Let's do a quick search. Let's do a quick search.
Willingness pricing.
We're gonna what?
There's a thing in there called willingness pricing. When you go to list something,
interesting.
You can either list it for the price.
Yeah. What are they? Pro 3s, right? Or are they Pro 4s?
They're Pro 3s. Otherwise
Pro 3s. Well, I can't find them, but if you drone Cosmo,
It's the only
F60.
unprofessional picture.
Wait, no, let's try. Hold on. Pro I. I think that's how they have it listed
Probably
out.
did.
Pro 3.
There they
this
are.
might be it.
That's the ones right there.
Oh, nope, there it is. This guy made his own goddamn listing.
Finally.
There it is. Mantis 420.
One.
In Roswell, New Mexico.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. But I don't know how to change the price. I would have made it cheaper actually.
There they
because
are. So
There's the thing called willingness pricing, and it didn't change.
here's a little tip for you that Patrick could maybe benefit from as well. If you go into here and you log in and you import all of your past purchases, which is one of the amazing things that FPV Exchange does. So you go in, you can type your Pyro Drone login and password in, your RDQ login and password. It'll pull all of your history, all of your old purchases into your FPV Exchange,
No way.
and then you can just hit a button that says, I have one to sell. If this guy had done that, then he would be on this page here with Drone Freak. But instead, this guy did it the hard way, and he fucking took pictures because he's used to using Facebook Marketplace, and he even wrote a little description, and now he's on a page all by himself.
Didn't need to do that.
So there's a little tip for you. That's really, that's one of the big things that Nevin built into FPV Exchange so that you could show up on the same page as all the major resellers when you're selling your stuff. And because of the fact that you're going to be selling it used, you're going to be cheaper and you're going to be on the top of the list. So people will, click on yours first.
That shit's new.
That shit's so yeah, buy Patrick's Motors off of his pain in the ass listing that he created.
I worked hard.
He worked hard for it. Turbo Shill over. If you'd like to talk to me directly in the chat, all you've got to do is type my name. It's CiottiFPV. Just like in the real world, you don't just walk up to somebody and start in the middle of a sentence. You say, hey, John, blah, 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 blah. Same thing, if you type someone's name, anybody's name, if you type Grizz space FPV into the chat, for Grizz, his name will show up in orange, and then he'll know that you're talking to him. The other thing you can do is super chats if you want to support the madness. YouTube does take 30% of the super chats. Over on CiottiFPV.com, there is a PayPal link if you don't want YouTube to take 30%. I'm fine with YouTube taking 30%. They give me this platform to stream on. It's all good, but if you're not okay with that, I've got an answer for you. There's also a link over on CiottiFPV.com to FPV therapy. A whole bunch of us with mental illness issues are in there hanging out, sharing stories, figuring out how to just get through every single day. Because a lot of mental illness is exactly that. So come on over, even if you don't struggle with it yourself, plenty of people in your life do. They're probably not talking to you about it because you're a normie and they're very jealous of you. Come on over, learn about it. You'll know what to say to those people, and it'll mean a lot to them. Also at the very bottom is a BattleBots button. Click that if you want to laugh. Tonight we are doing motor health checking isms things. I put this thing into some disgusting mud and the motors are relatively locked up, so this is a really good chance for us to take a look at for me to show you guys how I maintain my motors. Which is something that is kind of misunderstood a little bit and not many people do. There are some pretty simple ways to check them, to keep an eye on them, and to, make sure that you have healthy motors on your rig. But before we dive into that, let's get caught up on chat. GrizzFPV says, CiottiFPV is the man. B-Man says, yo, CiottiFPV, what's up, brother? These are all the people that have tagged me in the chat. So far, Motor FFPV says, Zanakis, hey, Nevin, just sold my first component on FPV Exchange. Motor F knows what's up. Work like a charm. Thanks, man. And he tags CiottiFPV. CMYKFPV says, what's up? June Loco says, what's up? CiottiFPV, what's up, collective? Dragonwing FPV says, what's up, brother? Wish you a good one, buddy. Thank you, Dragonwing. Chris Croft says, hi. June Loco says, Gangly Man got skills. Apex FPV says, hey, man. Zanaka says, nice, CiottiFPV and CMYK FPV. Remy Tim says, joined in, and first thing I heard was catch fire and kill babies. Jackalope FPV says, did you get your car figured out? I see the Mac Fund is back to only being the Mac Fund. The car thing is No, I'm borrowing my dad's Mustang Cobra for a little while because the used car market is a hot mess. But I actually spent some time with my ex-wife a few days ago. We had a nice conversation, and she's actually looking to sell the Mazda 2. And I've kind of put my heart and soul and bank account into that car. So that's pretty cool. That could potentially be the Miata at this point. Like, I don't know, the shop is, I guess, just going to keep it forever or whatever. Maybe not, but whatever. For the most part, with the Miata, I just have to kind of write it off, as I shouldn't have. I should have done research on the shop and made sure that they weren't. Yeah, but the Mazda 2, I love that car. I had a lot of fun with it. I put a lot of good parts onto it and a lot of time into it. I know it. I know it hasn't been beat on that bad. I mean, at least I was the one beating on it. Yeah, so that could be really cool. It's gonna cost a lot more than this, but that's okay. You guys were super generous. OBS is still not optimized. It's still not working properly on M1, any of the M1 chipset Macs. So I'm just gonna wait it out. And yeah, it'll get there. And then I'll have another computer that'll hopefully last me another 10 years. Frank Nicholas dropping the link to CiottiFPV.com. Thank you, brother. Espander says, hey, CiottiFPV and others. If you are reading this, I'm probably long asleep. Have a nice stream. Thank you, Espander. Chris Croft says hi. All right, we got that. Dragon Wing. Athix says, hey, man. And I'm caught up on chat. So let's dig in. This is not going to be a 2-hour-long stream. I want to hang out with Patrick. We just made some steaks. I got to finish my steak. We're going to hit the motor maintenance stuff. You guys hit me with any questions you've got, and then I'm going to wrap this thing up, and I'll see you guys again on Friday. So let's dig into motor maintenance and what I do, how I do it, why I do it.
Because I crash every time I fly.
That's very fucking true. So yeah, the more often you crash, the better you need to be about this. I crash typically multiple times per battery, so I have to really pay attention to this shit.
You're doing it wrong.
The first thing we notice is lots of dirt. Lots and lots and lots of dirt and mud and just probably dog shit all over this. So let's get this party started by doing a little bit of cleaning. And the way that I like to clean these electronic components is with isopropyl alcohol. It is wet when it's wet, and then it evaporates pretty quickly. So I got my nice little bloop 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 thing here with, and then I got my little disgusting toothbrush. Put the toothbrush into the little top of the thingy here, get it all nice and wet, and then start scrubbing. And the isopropyl will evaporate sort of on its own, and it won't cause any rust or any bullshit. It's the best stuff to, and I mean, you can just, like, I'll brush the whole rig. If the whole rig gets horribly dirty, I'll brush the whole rig down with this stuff. It makes, you know, your nose get all angry and shit, but it's fine. So let's just get as much of this mud off as we can here. And so yeah, with motors, you wanna try to keep them clean, right? Like, I know we will crash into mud, and then we'll sit there and just spin the props and force the motors to spin. Like, we'll basically force the dirt and sand and shit out through the bottom of the motor. And, like, that's fine for, like, while you're flying, but when you come home, fucking clean it. Like, it's not good for all that dirt to be up in there. So when you get home, do the annoying thing and get it cleaned up a little bit. It's just going to make the motors last longer. There are 2 bearings in the stators of these motors, and they are somewhat sealed bearings. They don't have rubber seals on them. They have metal seals on them, which sucks. The rubber sealed bearings do a much better job of keeping dirt and shit out. But I guess you could maybe argue that it's not quite as strong, but there's technically no real strength from that seal. All the strength is for the inner and outer race. Jackalope FPV with a $5 super chat. He says, calling on the collective. If all 40 of us pitch in $5, we can get our boy his Mac Fund to his iMac Fund goal. And then all the emojis. Thank you, Jackalope. Jackalope is our super chat hype man. Xenakis FPV with a $4.99 super chat. He's getting on the hype train. Thank you, Nevin. You are amazing. Xenakis FPV is Nevin. Nevin is FPV Exchange. So, as you guys can see, Nevin is extremely generous. Amazing guy. He donated all of the rapid tests to Rampage, which is, like, they're expensive. Like, some of you know what rapid tests cost. They ain't cheap. Very, very, very generous human being. On top of, you know, making a hell of a website for us to sell our stuff and trade our stuff. So, yeah, show some love to Xenakis, to Nevin. Get on over to FPV Exchange. It's free to sign up. It's free to sell your stuff. And then you'll make some money, and you can waste it on other stuff that you can either destroy or eventually sell. Because that's how this hobby works. Holy shit, there's a hoe train coming. B-Man FPV with a $5 he said, super chat. He says, Jackie is starting the train again. Paul McDonald with a $4 super chat. No comment. Just wants to send some love. Motor FPV with $4.99. Let's do this. I'm in. Tiago Ramos with 30 British reals. He says, beer fund for Patrick. Perfect. Tiago, how the fuck are you, man? Hey, Tiago, how are the yogurt and water disgusting drinks going? Tiago is who told me, actually, about Healthy Gamer. Yeah, Healthy Gamer is Dr. Kanoja, Alok Kanoja. Just check him out. I'm not going to get into too deep into his backstory, but basically he's a psychologist who specializes in gaming addiction, and yeah, his YouTube channel, his Twitch channel are absolutely amazing. They have changed my life. I know that's a very, I don't know. That's like one of those things. It changed my life. But it really has. And yeah, he's an amazing human being that will help you figure some shit out about yourself. I promise. So check him out. Healthy Gamer GG. GG for good game if you're not a gamer. You don't have to be a gamer. I really don't consider myself to be a gamer at all. But I've benefited a lot from discovering that channel and spending as much time on there as I can, watching the interviews, watching the little shorts that he does. It really brings light to a lot of confusing, a lot of difficult things in life as someone who lives through having mental illness. Even if you don't have mental illness, you're still going to learn a lot, and you're going to learn a lot about yourself, learn a lot about why you react certain ways to certain things. And yeah, I mean, you're just going to sort of be a better person, to be totally honest with you. When you have a little bit of a better understanding, man, this motor is really locked up for things like that. So yeah, check them out. Huge thanks to Tiago for turning me on to Healthy Gamer. It's just it's been absolutely amazing, and I've now since turned a lot of other people on. Like I get about a message a week, maybe 2 messages a week from people that are like, dude, holy shit, thank you so much for telling me about Healthy Gamer. This is absolutely brilliant, life-changing stuff for sure. So yeah, go check them out. Don't make excuses. Just do it. Go for it. You got this shit. We're in this together, but you got to use your tools. You got to use your resources. Don't be a fool. Wrap your tool. Ribby Tim with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Daniel. License to Drive with a £4 super chat. Thank you as well, License. June Loco says, I clean my quad in the kitchen sink with warm water and a toothbrush and hit with the wifey's blow dryer. Been doing that for almost 2 years now. That's scary, June Loco. That's totally fine. My dad used to clean keyboards in the shower. And yeah, like as long as you let them dry out, they should be totally fine. That's a little creepy for me. I like this method. I like the fact that the isopropyl evaporates really quickly. But yeah, there's different ways to do this shit. It's always super interesting to, like, I always thought that if electronics got wet, they were just immediately dead. And I think there's a big misconception about that. I think a lot of people have that same thought in their head. It's just not true. But at the same time, isopropyl is not going to cause any kind of corrosion or rust or anything like that. Clean water shouldn't either, but I don't know. I feel like it's just a little bit more risky. It probably actually isn't, but it just feels wrong. Yeah, isopropyl is right here in the corner of my desk, so what the hell. Alright, so we got some cleaning done. Let me just soak up the rest of this alcohol from the top of the little thing here. And so now what we're going to do, typically what I would do if the motors weren't locked up right now, what I would do is plug this thing into Betaflight and spin the motors up. But because the motors are kind of locked up, what I'm going to do is pull the bells off first, and I'm going to show you how to clean the garbage out of the bells. So let's dive into that. These are F40 Pro 2s. This is my last remaining rig, and I think this is my last remaining set of F40 Pro 2s. These are the motors that I ran for about 1.5 years. I still absolutely love them, but they are almost impossible to find at this point. So I've moved over to the F40 Pro 4s. Riot 9 with a 679 Australian. He says, butt and Pepsi. Thank you, Riot. Droidy Droid says, I turn a lot of people on. CiottiFPV 2021. Oh boy. Paul McDonald says, profound. Droidy Droid says, rubber seal reduces durability on side impact. Thinking about skateboard bearings, yeah, I'm relating it to skateboard bearings as well, Journey Droid. Quad motors don't usually take that kind of impact, though. Mine certainly do. Mine take.
I crash multiple times per battery.
Yeah, mine take a lot to. Mine take a lot of side load. That's what she said.
Don't you just love the visuals that come with Aaron Ciotti's comments?
B-Man rightfully says saltwater is the quad reaper. Yeah, it certainly is. Tiago says, I could be crazy, but I drop sugar and artificial sweetener in yogurt every day. Man, a huge difference in my rage meter. Very cool. Dropped sugar and artificial. Yeah, artificial sweeteners and sugar are the goddamn devil. Yeah, you can really. Oh, yeah. Give me this. So check this out. This is a glide on 15mm standoffs with a goddamn full-size air unit in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick realized very recently that this does fit.
In between the standoffs in the back, it gives
wild.
a millimeter on each standoff, and it's cut out in the front. Can you show the?
Yeah, it's kind of cut out in the front as if they did it on purpose.
There's room. There's totally room. It makes you want to look
that?
at the first versions to see if those are in the same place. But
so the only pain in the ass here, I guess, is going to be because there's like no. I mean, I guess you just put a tiny little piece of VHB and you're good to go.
They got that thinner tape too. Like you could probably put
like
that separate crossfire comes with, or the.
Oh yeah. I have some of that actually.
And stuff
that's
works
heat
as long as you
transfer
have
tape.
It is.
Yep. So the blue,
I did not know that.
If you guys didn't know, you can get this on Amazon. This is heat transfer tape. That's what it's called.
It gets hot.
It's nice and thin, and for the air unit, that would actually be really nice. You could put a strip of this on the bottom.
That's all there's room for, man.
And then it's going to transfer the heat out of the air unit into the carbon fiber, and carbon fiber is actually a really good heat sink. So that's more than likely what Patrick is going to do.
I'm going to be using this today.
As I hand him both of those.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, that's what you do. I can't believe that that'll fit in there.
I can't believe that either.
That's pretty crazy.
Now you do have to have. I'm flying 6S. I bet a lot of these guys are too. So you got to be careful what flight control you're using for the regulator. But
yeah. So what's
the Vistas? You
for
will
those of
also
us
fit in here on
analog plebs? What's the deal with 4S versus 6S with the air unit?
Yeah. So they need a specific regulator. I think it's a 2 amp specific voltage regulator that flight controller needs a special for. It's stable to 4S, The air unit is stable to 4S, and it needs a special regulator if you're going to be running 6S. You can't just plug in a normal 9-volt reg because it needs a specific amount of amperage. I think somebody's going to know out there what it is specifically. It's been a minute.
Chat, fill in the blanks.
But the Vista, that's the versatility of the Vista is that you get all range of all batteries, so you can just plug it in, right? And that'll obviously fit here too. And I've got
the Vista will fit because the Glide has 20 by 20 holes in the rear.
But the surprising
like
part,
me.
the surprising part being that the air unit will fit. Like if you wanted to put an air unit on here, skip the GoPro, still get your onboard footage, that's actually pretty decent. If you're not flying for money, you're flying for great. You can get some good footage out of this. Keep the weight way down. I didn't know you could do that on a super slammed.
I would never think that would clear 15 mil standoffs. Oh, you know what's not going to clear the 15 mil standoffs though?
Don't tell me.
The camera.
Oh, you're so right. You have to come out. We put these things together just for you.
Yeah.
It's live, ladies and gentlemen. What do you expect?
So
you'd have to come out of the cage for sure. It's the only way.
So you need to get a nano camera.
So you get a nano cam, but I think that's
terrible.
the same connector. You could take that off.
It is, yeah.
But you are recording that.
Up.
Yeah, you're recording that same image. At that point, it's up to you. Builders beware.
Yeah, so the option...
Good call. I was going to put the Vista in anyway, but I still have the same problem with the camera size.
Right.
It's a good point.
When Patrick says put the camera at the front, what he's talking about is you take your TPU camera loops and you spin them around. Oh yeah, here you go. Perfect. So it's what he did on this Cinesplore here. So you spin your camera loops around so that the camera hangs out the front. And now, obviously you don't want to smash, you don't want to put a pole right up the center because it's going to blow up the camera.
You don't want to crash multiple times per battery.
There it is.
Well, that was a good point.
But it's an option. I wonder if, I'm willing to bet that it won't, but I wonder if the new Polar camera will fit under the 15 mil standoffs. I'm willing to bet no, because I tried a lot of different micro 19 millimeter cameras. Oh yeah, it definitely won't fit because it's 19 by 19 and the standoffs are 15. So yeah, the only option is to go to the nano cameras, and at the moment there are no good DJI nano cameras according to all the people that do DJI camera reviews.
Son of a bitch.
So all the bells are now off. The bearings are absolutely awful. The bearings are absolutely filthy. We need to get these cleaned. This is not good. This is why you can, when you get your shit dirty, you can just force the sand out by just turning them by hand to get you through the rest of the day. But you really need to come home and clean these things properly. Because if I leave this dirt here, it's going to get mashed down into the bearing and it's going to really fuck these bearings. So we got some more toothbrushing to do here.
And in Georgia, for you folks in Georgia, we are high iron content here.
We are.
And it packs in there. It does not let go. Sand is one thing, but man, that iron, even with blue tack and things, it's really difficult to get that stuff out of your motors.
Yeah, we're gonna see that in a bit here. This is the inside of one of the bells.
It'll throw the balance off. Something fierce,
It will. Yeah. So this is inside one of the bells. And it's hard for me to give you guys the angle, but there you go. Look at that. See how disgusting that is? Yeah, you can't have that in there. The air gap is very small between the magnets and the stator faces. And if you have a whole bunch of shit in there, it's just all that. All of it is bad. Every little bit of it is bad. So we're going to come in here. We're going to get a little bit more alcohol. You want to try not to use too, that was probably a bit much. Alcohol has the potential to chase out some of the grease that's in these bearings. So don't dump alcohol into the bearing or anything like that. Just put the isopropyl on the toothbrush and then just get as much of the junk out. I also like to scrub the outside here to try to get anything that's in between the stator poles out. So there we go with that. And any other motor cleaning tips, drop them in the comments, boys and girls, as I'm sure you probably already are. So there's one nice and clean. You might also be thinking, oh, what about the bearing that's on the bottom? The bearing that's on the bottom doesn't usually get all that dirty because it's so recessed. And it also doesn't take much abuse. So the bottom bearing in the stator tends to be damn near indestructible, which is pretty nice. So let me try to not put so much isopropyl.
FPV says that the Vista, the camera coax won't be long enough. He has the Nebula Nano, because you can change the cord, I think.
I think Finn tried to do this, right?
Yeah.
Finn, didn't you try to build the DJI Glide?
And then I run the Nebula Nano, and the default 23mm standoffs, and on my Glide, and that's tight too. Nebula Pro.
Oh, the Nebula Pro on 23s.
That's what he's saying. He says it's super tight.
Wow. Yeah. So
super tight.
So one of the thing that kept me from going to 15mm standoffs forever was the height of the cameras. Like for me, with these Glide builds for the last 2 years or so, the limiting factor has always been the height of the camera. With the 20x20 ESC, with the 20x20 flight controller up front, and then the ESC in the middle, you don't have anything that's really tall in a Glide. So you have all this wasted space because of the camera. And that was one of the things that was really nice. Once the nano cameras came out and started to get good, I was like ready, man. Like I was just waiting for that to happen so that I could drop the standoffs down. So the Glide comes with 23mm standoffs, and for a long time I'd been running 20mm standoffs because you can just barely make that fit with an extra 1mm spacer with a Runcam Eagle Micro. So I was doing that for a long time, and I definitely noticed that the 20mm standoffs were a little bit more durable than the 23s. And that's one of the big things that really made me excited in the crotchal region to move down to the 15mm standoffs, is just that extra durability, just looking for that little bit of extra durability. The height, basically, whenever you crash inverted, a lot of bending left and right energy goes into the top plate, and it just basically tries to bend the standoffs. It's like the only knock on school bus style standoff only rigs.
And once you build one that small, you realize how big it really is when you build the other.
Yeah, it's true. When you actually like hold a 15mm standoff in comparison to a 23 or a 20, it's like, wow, this is a lot shorter. And you can just tell, like you just and then you build it with the 15s and you're like, oh, I get it. And that's another reason why I'm such a fan of the Glide frame, is that it allows you to do that, right? All of these frames with vertical carbon in the front, you can't do that. The height of the vertical carbon designates the standoff height, and none of them are 15, well, not none of them, but most of them are not 15mm. So there we go. All 4 top bearings are clean. You can test this to make sure that the bearing didn't get a bunch of shit in it by taking a motor bell, putting it on only the top bearing, and just giving it a quick spin, and just make sure that it spins nice and freely. So let's do that on all 4. That one's not great, but it's still sort of acceptable. You just basically don't want to spin it and have it go and just not spin at all. And last one. Ooh, that one's a little rough. That one's a little rough, but you're going to be all right. He's going to be fine. This is the beater rig. This thing gets the absolute ass eaten out of it. You know what I'll do? I'll put a little drop of grease in these guys. I'll go the extra mile, and I've got a little thing with skateboard grease. No, that's glue. Don't want that. Yeah, I've got a little thing of Oust, I think is the name of the company, O-U-S-T. It's just skateboard bearing grease, and we're gonna put a little bit of this in each one of these. This grease is a little loose. I wish this grease was a little bit more viscous, but it's got this nice little super fine applicator here, pin needle dick thing. So I'm just going to go right on the inside of these where the gap in the little shield is, and we're just going to dump some grease in here to let it sink down inside the bearing.
Glitchy says that he uses mineral oil to clean the stator because it's lubes and non-conductive. Interesting one.
Very cool, Glitchy. Mineral oil, huh?
I've seen that before.
That is not a bad idea.
Small amount. You don't want to collect the dirt either.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why this grease is not great. The right grease to use for this is the dry grease for bicycle chains. And there's apparently good dry grease and bad dry grease. I did a little bit of research a while back and then didn't buy any. But yeah, wet grease like this is going to attract more dirt. But if you keep your motors clean as you should be trying to, as we just did here, you know, it becomes not as much of an issue, I guess you could sort of argue. For me, it's just this is the grease that I have available to me right now, so this is what I'm going to use. But at some point here, I will buy some of that dry grease stuff. If anybody in the chat knows about that dry grease stuff and what the good stuff is, what the bad stuff is, maybe like you mountain bikers or road bikers, maybe you'll know the secret dry grease. Leave it in the chat if you don't mind. That would be dope. But as you can see, these are spinning a lot better with just that little bit of extra grease in them. Like I said, the isopropyl kind of chases the grease out a little bit, which you don't necessarily want, but it's also not the end of the world. So now the motors are clean, the bearings are clean, the bearings are greased. Now we can move on and check the health of the motor bells themselves. Actually, first we need to clean the motor bells because they're disgusting as well. So let's do that. I totally forgot. So the first thing that I like to do is just hit them with a toothbrush. That'll get most of the shit out. And then for anything that's left, we can go in there with Funtac. I don't know why I keep saying silly putty lately. Go in there with Funtac and get any other big chunks of shit out. But to be honest with you, a toothbrush at an angle like this is going to do a lot of the work. It's going to get most of the stuff out of it. Just get it all up in there. The toothbrush doesn't fit super well, but it gets in there good enough to get most of the shit out. So just work it around, work it around, work it around. If you need to clean your toothbrush, hopefully you're doing this on a little rag. You can just rub it off on the rag like this. That's of course going to get rid of all the ISO, but that's fine. I like to then come back and brush it out dry a little bit here. And now what we want to do is just kind of take a look, see if there's any big chunks of shit that are still sticking to the magnets. The air gap is in between the magnets and the face of the stator here. So that's the big thing that you're looking for. You're looking for any chunks of metallic dirt or grime or garbage that are sitting up on top of the magnets. So you just kind of take the motor bell and rotate it around like this. A 5X loop really helps. Down in the description below, there is one on Amazon that you can get at an affiliate link. If you don't have one of these, you need to have one. They're incredibly useful. You'll use it for all sorts of stuff. And so now, I thought this was pretty clean, but as soon as I look through this, I can see that it's horrible. Are you stabbing me?
No.
I'm being stabbed with scissors. I can see that there's all kinds of chunks of magnetic shit on top of the magnets themselves. Magnetic dirt, iron phosphorus balls. So you go to the store and you get yourself a chunk of blue tack, also called fun tack.
Or silly putty.
Or silly putty. Don't get silly putty. I don't know why I keep saying silly putty. You break yourself off a little piece of this. This has like a little bit of stickiness to it. You see it? See how it kind of like sticks to my finger?
Super dense.
It likes to, garbage will stick to it. If it only worked on people. So you can push it into the magnets like that, and then when you pull it out, you'll see that it's absolutely disgusting. This was clean. This looked like this a second ago, and now it looks like that. So you can really see how much garbage that it's picking up, and then you can just kind of fold it a couple times to hide that, to lock that garbage away, and do it again. So what we're going to do is try to do like half the motor at a time. So we'll come in here, wrap it around like a little snake. The biggest thing is you want to make sure that you push it in there, just like many things in life. And so just push it on in there, just stuff it in, just fold it in half and stuff it in there, and hopefully the wetness
Find a piece of metal and shove it in.
Will allow it to blow up like those little dinosaur sponges you had as a kid. It's a quote from Brockmire for anybody who can score at home. If you're not watching Brockmire, you should be. So you push it around like that, and then you peel it away, and there'll be a whole bunch of horrifying stuff all over it that you did not want in your motor. And then you check it again with the 5X loop. What I should have done is not just let the motor fall out of there, because now I don't know which side I cleaned and which side I didn't. But you can kind of see it. So now we'll do roughly the other side. I don't know if this is actually the other side, but it kind of looks like it. And yeah, and then we'll have one motor bell fully cleaned out. Again, you should not have to do this all the time. You should only have to do this when you go down in dirt that's got like high iron content, high metal content that sticks to the bearings. You'll know it. You'll go to spin your motors and they'll go, or they won't spin at all, which is the situation that I was in. And there you go. Now we pulled a whole bunch more garbage out of there. Fold it up a little bit to lock away the badness and get a clean outside again. And I'm just going to take a look at this.
And just like when you poop, ladies and gentlemen, when the brown is gone.
The job's still not done. Or is it?
You're done.
So now we're looking good. Now I can see that there's no chunks of shit sitting on top of the magnets. What I do want to show you guys is the balancing mud. Let me see if I can zoom the Logitech in a way where you guys can actually see this. And I'm going to manually zoom this thing to macro. So there is going to be balancing mud in there. All right, so there it is. Up on the top of the magnets here. Which finger is it? On this thumb, right down here. Man, is that hard to show you guys? There it is. So that's balancing mud. On the top, where you guys see it, it's on the bottom, but this bell is, I'm holding this bell upside down. That's balancing mud. That's good. You need that to be there. You're not going to be able to clean that out. Here's the rest of the magnets. You can see there's no other junk on them. So don't get all obsessed, and definitely don't go in there with like a little chisel and chisel out that balancing mud, because then you'll make your bell imbalanced. You need that shit to be there. You never want to be digging around in here with anything metal. And if you do dig around with anything metal, only dig in between the magnets on the vertical faces. Never, ever, ever go above the magnets, because that's where the balancing mud is, and you do not want to disrupt that because it's really important for your motor bell to be balanced. So you can go in between, and sometimes you need to go in between the magnets here and try to get big chunks of dirt out. That's fine, but just be careful. Don't go up above the magnets where that balancing mud is.
No WD-40, folks.
Yeah.
That's what the chat says.
Yeah, right.
The chat. I'm gonna summarize the chat.
Yeah, no WD-40. It'll chase all the lubricity out. Oh, that's right. He said lubricity. Hey, Haveboard says, looking for my bike grease now. Awesome. Athix says, did you know the Source One HD frame weight is advertised at 99.5 grams? That ain't right at all. Weirdo with a Skateboard says, when you're done with your silly putty, honestly, silly putty, get a big fuck of a magnet and just leave it sitting on top. That should pull most of the metal out. Yes, I'm that cheap. I would think that would affect the magnetism of these magnets.
That's my first thought.
That's based on nothing,
right,
other than just, like, I don't know. I thought, though, that you had to be careful of demagnetizing and remagnetizing and flea-magnetizing things, though. Oh my god, this one is horrifying. Okay, so we got some work to do on this boy. Wow, this one's so dirty. I'm going to actually clean the outside. What else is going on in the chat? Rob Exton says, hola bitches. How was Charleston? It was really good, Rob. If you want a little bit of an after-action report for Charleston, Monday night stream is a good one to watch. You probably only have to watch like the first half hour. I talked about the shoot schedule and yeah, it was a really good stream. Really good stream. Monday was pretty awesome. So yeah, check that out if you want a little bit of a recap, or just hit my Instagram. I did somehow remember to use the little highlights for the 7,000 stories that I posted. So you can go back into my highlights of Detroit Reawakening, and you can see all of the stories, which really, I mean, they're like a really cool behind the scenes of what the lighting guy does, and running lighting, doing gaffer work. It's a lot of like hurry up, get everything set up as quickly as possible for like a half an hour, and then once it's set up, you kind of just stand there and wait to break it down again. So it gives me some good free time to then take stills of the actors and just sort of the rest of the crew sort of doing their thing. So it's it's a pretty cool way to get a little bit of a window into this short film that I was on. So go do it if you're interested. If not, piss off.
I'll fucking kill you.
Avik says the HD is more like a Glide than the V3. The V3 is thick. I had the V3 and it was anything but thick. It was really flimsy, actually. It had 4mm thick arms that were really thin. I was gonna build it, but then there was just no chance that I wouldn't break the arms on the first crash, so I ended up giving it away in one of the giveaways because I think maybe since then they've changed the arm thickness to 5mm, but they're still really skinny arms. So I don't really have any interest in the Source One frames. I know a bunch of great pilots fly them, like Adam Squints FPV.
Yeah.
So they're a fine frame. I just really like the Glide, and the Glide isn't that much more expensive, and there's a bunch of things about it that really, like the way that I do my builds, it really works. And yeah.
Speaking of squints, man,
Who's that?
Dude Buddy is bringing it lately.
Yeah, he's a fucking hell of a pilot.
He is making it happen. Y'all check out his stuff if you haven't already.
Squints FPV. He usually stops by here in the chat and says hello. Really good dude, really good pilot. He's been working his ass off to
next level it.
To hammer the 5-inch freestyle stuff. And from what I hear, he's finally moving away from Flight 1, which makes me like him even more.
He was ostracized slightly from that.
It's funny, when I spent time with Kiss in Flight 1, I felt like I ostracized myself. Like, I would look for, like, info and feedback, and, like, there was just nothing. There was just no info. Luckily, I had access to Schizo and Steel at the time, and they helped me out a ton. But it didn't make a difference. It's still nowhere near as good as Betaflight, which makes sense. I mean, Flight 1 and Kiss have barely changed over the last 3 years, and and Betaflight has had humongous changes: RPM filtering, iTerm relax, feed forward, anti-gravity. Man, the list goes on and on. So. Avik says 145 grams with 4mm arms still. Oh my god. Bobby Bag says, did CiottiFPV go over how to replace his bearings in his brushless motors? I did not. I have. Oh, focus. Fuck. Sorry, guys. Oh my god, it's been out of focus for a long time. Oh boy. Well, you didn't really miss anything. I was just putting the fun tack into the motor and getting some of the shit out. Sorry, guys.
I have failed you.
That must have been hard to watch. I appreciate you not bailing on me. Unless you did, then fuck you with a large, coarse file. Weirdo with a Skateboard says, where can I sell FPV shit? I've acquired lots of shit, and I'm in need of de-shitting, which is a word I just made up, and yet you know exactly what I mean. Probably not. I need sleep help. FPV Exchange, Weirdo with a Skateboard. It is a worldwide website. It's also 100% electronic. So head on over to FPV Exchange. It's a 100% electronic website. You're gonna love it. Let's see if I got everything out of this one with my 5X loop. Looks pretty good. There's a little chunk there.
23mm standouts, he said. Man.
There's a little chunk here that I'm gonna try to get out. I can hear Patrick Patrick was really excited about building a 15
I couldn't believe
millimeter
it fit.
digital glide,
I was really making
but he
it.
just didn't think about the camera.
When I took to Tahoe, I had to bring up I chose to bring up the standoffs on that one because it was I put the 1 watt video transmitter on there,
Yeah.
and it don't fit, right? You don't fit. So, not with a capacitor in the back.
Right.
So I did it there, so maybe I'd be okay doing it there. It's just the thing, like I always like the slam look too. Like even looking at the
They do look
the quad,
gnarly.
I mean it just looks sick. Center of gravity is so low.
Yeah.
You can still get a strap around every single.
It's kind of perfect. I ain't gonna lie, boys and girls. All right, so this bell is good. I just had to use the little M1.5 to get a couple big chunks of shit out of it. Oh my god, this one's horrifying too. Man, this was like a grass crash, but it had been raining for days in Charleston. That was on the shoot. We had a really hard time with the weather. It was the first time on any of the films I've worked on with Michelle that we've had such a problem with the weather. And yeah, the ground was just disgusting, and this was under the bridge, and it's like this weird Charleston clay that has got a bunch of metal in it, unfortunately. So that's the
telling me you lost
situation
one?
that we're in. I did, yeah. I also talked Monday about the fact that I've finally joined the Lost a Quad Club. Kind of outrageous that it took 4.5 years for this to happen.
Does anyone beat that? Does anyone seriously?
Don't think so,
I never
man.
heard. I almost think you're full of shit.
Right? So yeah, I didn't.
Broke them all, never lost them.
I didn't take it super hard because it was just like, well, I had this shit coming. It was gonna happen at some point, and it happened when I was chasing really beautiful footage, gorgeous sunset over the low country swamp, and I was just going for it. I was really low to the ground, and I don't know what happened, but it fail-safed, and I was low enough that there just wasn't enough time to raise the transmitter above my head or really do much of anything. It just went directly in. I was probably about 3 feet off the water. It just went right in.
GPS, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, GPS will be installed
You're
on
gonna
the
be on a marsh.
replacement cinematic build.
There's no reason to not have one. You
There
have 3 of
kinda
these.
isn't.
You
Yeah.
have 3, right? Constantly, always.
Yeah.
You should definitely have that one that you can pull out that has a longer antenna
Yep.
and then has the GPS set up on it. Like butter, man. I've had great success with the.
I think I'm also going to put a diversity
Yes.
crossfire
Oh
on
my
it.
God. Yes.
Because why not?
Oh my God. Yes. Great idea.
There it is again.
Good idea.
Oh.
Whatever you do, don't go to Rollins' 3rd episode and look at the comments. Whatever you do.
Oh, did people call him on it?
No, I did. He bitched at me like a Sunday child. Mm-mm. No, sir.
For anybody that hasn't been following along with these streams lately, P. Richard Scott over here is very upset with
I'm upset.
Mr. Rollins' pronunciation of "oh my god."
I don't care where part of the country you're from. I'm from Ohio, quite frankly. You're from Jersey, right?
Yep.
Yeah, well.
We don't say "oh my god." Oh,
What is it, October?
Fantastic. So here we go, pushing this Funtac into the magnets to try to get as much junk as I can out. I'm going to remember where this sat so that I can do the other side immediately.
Been flying, Chris Croft says. that
Around.
Been flying since 2016, never lost a quad.
Nice.
That's amazing.
It's not
treat them.
impossible.
I treat them. I treat 2.
Yeah, me too. I've had to leave them in trees a couple times, but full on losing one with a GoPro has not happened. Which for me is pretty miraculous because I fly unrecoverable spots almost constantly, and I push pretty fucking hard, right? Like you don't have to push so hard, you don't have to crash so hard. I mean, also that, right? Like when you start crashing really hard, the electronics really get the shit kicked out of them. And if you kick the shit out of electronics for long enough, they will at some point just fall out of the sky. So it's pretty miraculous that this is the first time, and it really that really helped me not freak the fuck out, because I don't necessarily have $700 to throw away like that. that's a big hit. But I've got multiple rigs here. It was basically a $360 hit because that's what it costs to replace the Hero 8 with tax and another warranty replacement, physical damage replacement warranty. So yeah, I mean that hurts, but what are you gonna do? Like, you can let it. You know, this happened right before the short film, so it was like, well, I can be all pissed off and let this ruin the entire short film, or I can just fucking deal with it because it just happened and I can't fucking go back in time, and beating myself up about it is gonna accomplish exactly dick. And so that's what I chose to do, which I was pretty fucking proud of myself for, because last year I wouldn't have been able to do that. Last year I would have fucking moped all the whole goddamn shoot. Woe is me.
It's a new dawn, it's a new day. I'm feeling good.
So, yeah, man. A little bit of a life lesson there, right? Like, some shit... I mean, first and foremost, like, if something happens and there's no way to, like, fix it in the moment, just fucking let it go. Like, you can't go back in time. Why let it ruin another minute of your life? Way, way, way easier said than done. Very obviously, but, you know, that's why it's called work. Put in the fucking work. And, yeah, you can... be like me. I don't know. Don't be like me. That's a horrifying thought.
I wanna be like Ciotti.
Here we go. Last motor bell, and then we can move on to checking the motor health. Maybe I'll show you guys how to chat. If you guys want me to show you how to change a bearing in a Stator, light the chat up, because otherwise I won't, because I don't really need to change any. The one bearing did sound kind of rough, so I guess I will. But yeah, light the chat up if you want to see me show you how to swap a bearing out. Also light the chat up if I don't know, do whatever you want. So here's the silly putty. I managed to wrap it all the way around this time.
We already have a bearing request, so
It wasn't
I think it's important.
Super dirty. Yeah.
Do you have any press tools at all, or do you just do it?
So you can't.
Oh no shit, because you'll
You
fuck them
can't
up.
press them out.
Yeah.
Well, because you
I've
can't
never
get
done
in
it.
there. There's no way to get in there.
There's
The
two.
only
There's
way
one
to
on each
do
side,
it
right?
is to go at a diagonal. Yeah.
What do you do? You tap them around? What are you doing?
I'll show you in a minute.
Well, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, it will be a 2-hour stream.
Yeah.
We have requests. We have people in need here. I'm
Yeah,
interested.
like,
I mean, I've never done it. I've always wanted to.
For cars, there are bearing pullers that go into the inner race and then they expand and then they pull the bearing out. But I've never been able to find a bearing puller that'll go into a 4mm hole. The hole's just too tight, guys. It's just too tight. It's just too tight. And what also doesn't matter is the fact that you're pulling out a bearing that's fucked up. So the way that I'm going to show you how to pull this bearing out, it's going to fuck it up more. Oh, that's so terrible. I took something that was broken and I broke it more. Oh, damn. That's the worst thing in the world. It's not. It doesn't matter. So let's figure out which one of these bearings is the worst, and then I'm going to show you how to pull it and replace it. So in order to check that, you just put your motor bell and give it a little spin, and you can feel it. Like, you can legitimately feel if the bearing is spinning smooth or if it's all notchy and angry. You can also see it. Do you see how it stopped and it bounced back and forth there? That's not what you want. It's the motor bell is up off of the stator, so there's no magnetism here. That is just the bearing.
Give me a focus.
That is just the bearing doing that.
It's pretty off.
All right. It should not look like that. This is probably the worst one. This is what, motor 3. I was hoping that it would autofocus, but it's really just being a total jerk. I'll give it another second. So now we're going to check this one. But really, you can hear it and you can feel it. Like, you can feel how banged up the bearing is. This one is almost as bad. That's motor 1. This is motor 2.
Metal dirt skin is your ESC. I'm sure you'll get to it, but I just wanted to throw that out.
Wow, this one's pretty. These bearings are all kind of fucked. I'm trying to show you guys one that's not super bad. Maybe that'll be this one. No, they're all horrible. But this is the beater rig, so I am just going to replace one.
Through the top bearing only.
Yep. Yeah, so this also isolates the top bearing only. If you put it all the way down, now it's on both bearings. The bottom bearing doesn't really take much abuse. The top bearing takes all the abuse. I'm going to do motor number 1. I think that one was the worst, and I'm going to leave the rest of these. I have a little stack of extra F40 Pro 2 bearings. This is what the motor should spin down like. This is what it should look like when you put it on the bearing. It should spin down like this. Notice the difference? If you don't notice the difference, how fucking high are you? See how much longer that spun, and you see how it didn't bounce back and forth once it got to the point where it stopped? That's what you want. So this is a perfectly good bearing. So here you go. What do we say? Motor 1? I'm going to do motor 1. You flip it over. So what we want to do is remove this top bearing. The bottom bearing is almost always fine. We want to move this top bearing. There's no bearing puller that we can put into the hole and have it expand and pull it out. So we have to go in from the other side, and we need to take, I mean, you don't need to, but this is how I do it. I take an M2.5 Weeha, and I put it in here at an angle, and the point of putting it there at an angle is that you're going to go through the hole in the bottom bearing, and you're going to try to catch the inner race of the top bearing. And I know it's hard to see, but you can kind of see down there. See how the tool is crooked on the side there? So the tool is going to hit the inner race of this bearing, and that's going to fuck it up. But this bearing is already fucked up, so we don't care about that. Because what's going to happen is this is going to put a whole bunch of energy into this inner race, and then that's going to put that energy into the ball bearings, and that's going to dent the shit out of both the inner and the outer race. But again, we don't care because this bearing is already wrecked. So we put this thing in here at an angle, and then we smack it with a fucking hammer. Certain motors will allow you to knock these out really easily like that.
That was pretty fucking easy.
Usually it's not that easy.
No.
My guess is that I've already replaced this bearing once. Certain motors, these bearings will be glued in. Mm-hmm. The cheaper motors, they will glue these in rather than pressing them in, and you will blow the bearing up, hitting it with a hammer hard enough. I mean, at that point, it's like, okay, now you know you can't replace the bearings on that motor. Don't buy those motors
Just
anymore.
have to be careful with the that inner, lining, because you will start tapping a lot on it, and you can scar the shit out of it.
Yeah, once
this guy here.
For the most part, I mean, yeah, that's true, and that's going to happen more when you put it back in. If you try to reinstall a fresh bearing and it gets sideways, you can really fuck up the inside here. So this guy's done. If you really want to test that, you do the same little test that we just did with the fresh one, and we can see how fucked up this thing is. And so it is going to spin down a little bit slower, but watch what happens when it stops. See how it bounced? See that little bounce when it stops? See that wiggle? You don't want that wiggle. That's a wrecked bearing. This is what a good bearing will do when it spins down to a stop. See that?
And that's the kind of content you're going to get with CiottiFPV, ladies and gentlemen. Right there, you learned something today, didn't you?
So that's what you want. That's what you want. That's how you want, and you'll feel it. You'll literally feel it through your fingers.
Fucking brilliant.
So, technically speaking, in some motors, you can just push these damn things in here, and this came out kind of easily. So let's see what happens. You can also sort of use the motor bell as like a little bit of a press to give you a little bit more oompa loompa on it. So see, the bearing is still sitting up. That's why that it won't sit down. So you can just sit here. You don't want to put a ton of pressure on this because you're pushing on only the inner race. And yeah, so see, this won't, I mean, it sat down a little bit, but not enough. I mean, see, it came off with the bell, so it's not really going on there. So what I did is I went to Lowe's and I built myself a little bearing press kit. And if you just bring a stator with you, you can build your own little motor press kit. You're going to need a couple washers. You're going to need a bolt that fits through that, and you're going to need a little wing nut. So here's how it works. You take the wing nut off. You take a couple of these washers off, and you're going to put this thing up through the bottom. You can take the motor off to do this, but you don't have to. So you put this guy up through the bottom, just so that it hangs out here, and then you've got your threads up on top. You take your bearing, you drop your bearing down, and you've got a little bit more thread here. You take your little washer, you put your washer on here. This is important. The outer diameter of the washer needs to match the outer diameter of the bearing, because you want to push this bearing in. You want to put the energy into the outer race. You don't want to put the energy into the inner race. Come on, Logitech, you...
I mean, it's not doing you any favors.
Damn piece of shit. That's the washer size that you need.
There we go.
If you push on the inner race, you're going to ruin the bearing. You need to push the bearing in by the outer race, and that's why this washer needs to be the exact same dimension as the outer race. Because the outer race of the bearing is what's putting all the friction on the stator itself. The inner race of the bearing is then going to push on the ball bearings, and then it's going to push on the outer race. If you're not familiar with the way bearings work internally, just Google image it. Google image like bearing inner race or bearing outer race, or what does a bearing look like, or some shit like that. And then you can see what the inner and the outer race look like. So then you put your little wing nut on here, and you gotta hold your little hex on the bottom here, and then you just crank this guy down. Oh, hold on, I gotta give you guys some focus. Oh, let me just get this back on. I wish I'd gotten this screw a little bit longer. I got it a little bit too short, but it will work. Hold on. Back to autofocus. That'll just work amazingly awful. So I'm going to take this washer off the bottom here, just so that I get a little bit more length. Because we could all use a little bit more length. Am I right, boys? Not me!
Bearing master race.
All right, so now I'm going to put that in there, and now we're going to take one washer, and we're going to put this little wing nut back on, and now we've got enough threads for this to engage, and now we just hold the bottom, and we spin the wing nut on, and you're going to see that this is going to perfectly evenly push this bearing into the stator. And now eventually it's going to bottom out. When it bottoms out, back it off, because there's a chance you can hit these windings with the wing nut. Back it off, add a couple more spacers just to keep the wing nut the fuck away from those windings. And now you're going to really crank it down.
Experience is a hell of a teacher, isn't it, Aaron?
Yeah, right? So now you're going to really crank this thing down. And you really do want to crank this down. It's pushing by the outer race, so you're probably not going to hurt the bearing. But you need to make sure that this bearing is seated all the way. And there we go. And now our top bearing is seated perfectly flat. And we haven't put any energy into the inner race. And we're going to test that by putting this motor belt back on. And yeah, you know, I wish I'd written it down. And there we go. And that's the real test. You want to do this afterwards, because you can fuck the bearing up when you're putting it in. But you see how nicely that slowed down to a stop? That's what you want to see. So now we know that we didn't ruin this bearing when we were putting it back in. So that's how you change bearings. It's not that hard. When you start crashing a lot, you will destroy more motor bells than stators. So you typically do end up with a bunch of extra stators. You could totally make the argument that it's less work to just swap the entire stator out. I will not disagree with that. But I don't know. I would kind of rather do that. Like, that's not that hard. And I don't know. Soldering anything is always like, in my mind, like the worst thing in the world. I think it's good to do a mix, right? Save your stators with the banged up top bearings if you're going to go that route, and then if you ever run out of fresh stators, you can swap the bearings out, and all will be right with the world. So now we're going to check the health of the motor bell shafts, and we can do that without screwing them on. This is my test motor. We can do that without screwing them on. So you just drop your motor bells on, and we're going to hook up to Betaflight. We are going to plug in, and we're going to go to the motors tab, which you guys have seen me do a million times by now, but I'm going to show you it again. Or not, because that cable has disappeared.
I didn't do it. You need one? I got one.
I put that cable in with my gear. Here it is. Got it. Thank you, though. That was quick. God damn, this guy had a cable fucking ready.
I'm ready to help, boss.
Here's my cable. So we're gonna hook up to hook up to the flight controller first here, and then we're going to give it battery power
And break shit.
and blow shit up. And now we're gonna fire up Betaflight, Beater Flight. Bobby Bags with a $5 super chat. He says, "Thank you for the bearing replacement tutorial." You are certainly welcome, Bobby Bags. Like I said, usually you have to bang that bearing with a hammer harder. It doesn't matter. It's already broken. You're removing it because it's fucked up. Who cares? Just keep wailing on it. Where's Betaflight? There's Betaflight. So in Betaflight, you're going to wait for it to say USB, or select it yourself. And then you're going to go into the motors tab. You're going to understand the risks. You're going to make sure that your props are off. And you're going to spin each one of these motors up while your hand, your gangly, lanky fucking hand, is on the rig, so that you can feel the vibrations, because that's really all that matters. I can't show you the vibrations because, you know, they're imperceptible. But you'll feel it. When you do this, you'll feel it. So most of the vibrations happen right around here at 1300 out of 2000. The scale goes from 1000 to 2000. Most of the vibes are going to happen here at between like 1300 and 1400. That motor feels beautiful. Motor 2, not quite as good.
Motor 1's the one you did the bearing, right?
Motor 1's the one I did the bearing, but right now, really good point that Patrick just brought up. So what you're going to feel is the health of the motor shaft in the motor bell. That's what's going to vibrate back and forth. That's what you're going to feel through your hand. What you're going to hear is the health of the top bearings, to some extent the bottom bearing. If you spin one of these motors up and you don't feel vibrations, but you hear like, that's the bearing. Like any high-pitched noise that you can't feel as a vibration is the bearing being jacked up. But anything that you feel is the motor bell shaft being jacked up. So motor 1 felt great. Motor 2 was okay.
Can we say jack off? I mean,
jacked off.
Thank you.
Motor 3 is not great, but it's not terrible. Motor 4 is pretty bad.
Yeah, I can hear it.
But it's not bad enough that it's going to create jello. After you've done this 500,000 times, you'll have a sense of how much vibration is too much vibration. And you're also going to have a feel for your standards, right? If you're filming cinematic stuff and you absolutely need it to be... Man, it got a little smelly in here from that rig being plugged in. If you absolutely need to be... I should specify there. Yeah, if you need it to be absolutely perfectly clean, then your threshold for vibes is going to be very low. If it's vibey at all, you're going to replace that motor bell. For me, running session 5s, which are really good at dealing with jello, I can beat the living hell out of these motors and let them be a little bit vibey, and it's going to be totally fine. So, yeah, that's it. Now we're going to put the screws back in the bottom, and that's how you check the health of your motors, boys and girls. That took way longer than I thought, but I'm going to try to do more of these like streams where I pick a topic and rip through that topic and then end the stream. Because this is more like me doing an edited piece, right? Obviously, if I edited something, it wouldn't be an hour and 20 minutes. But yeah, this is what people keep asking me for in the comments: is shorter streams that are more topical. That's also going to be better for Google Analytics. If somebody searches brushless motor health, in theory, it'll pick up this video because of the title, and we'll be good. Oh yeah. I need to put that in the title. Actually,
I never knew how to do that. It's brilliant.
Right? How to maintain and clean your brushless motors, and change the bearings. So there you go, boys and girls. Let me get caught up on the chat a little bit. Weirdo with the Skateboard says might be different for FPV. For skating, you use a jeweler's screwdriver with the driver taken off, so it's just the handle, and hit that with a hammer. Best if it's got a rubber rim. That's interesting. The difference, I think, for us. So I used to longboard for a couple of years. The longboard wheels and skateboard wheels, they're a urethane and a plastic, so the bearings don't go in there quite as tight. These motor stators are metal, so the motor stator tends to be a tighter fit, so the bearing really gets pressed in there. Like I said, usually you have to really hammer on these things to get that top bearing out, which is fine because it's already ruined. That's why you're removing it. Anything rubber, I can't imagine that it would work. I have to fucking pound on that thing with the M2.5 Weeha to get most of the bearings out. So I don't necessarily know if that would work for us, but ramp up. Like if you've got tools like that, if you've got like a urethane or a rubber tool that's going to work to push the bearing out, start with that. See if it works. And then ramp up more, and then eventually, if you have to get to something that's metal on metal, it is what it is. But that's a good call, Weirdo. Halfboard says fill wood grease is the good stuff I use for bikes, etc. Guess it makes sense to use for FPV. Green tube fill wood grease. Let's do that. Sounds eerily familiar. Let's do a quick Amazon search. Waterproof grease for ball and roller bearings. This isn't what I'd seen. So is this a dry grease? I had a dry grease that somebody had recommended in my shopping cart. God forbid there's something weird in the shopping cart. Hold on, let me just there shouldn't be, but you never know with me. There's thread locker. I think oh no, there it is. So this is what somebody had previously recommended. Morgan Blue Extra Dry Lube. It's currently unavailable, but let's see. Maybe somebody else is selling it. Mountain bike, whatever. Silo cross. Let's see. We'd had this discussion. Yeah, it looks like it's gone forever now. Yeah, any dry grease would probably work, I guess. I don't know. But Halfboard, it sounds like, is a fan of Phil's Maboner's waterproof grease. So, top tip from Halfboard. Metal Dirksen says, the reason I'm wondering if it might be the motors is Bob's latest statement about Brother Hobby. I wonder if I got some bunk 2806.5s. Yeah, I saw that. Bob Rugi Kebab says, don't buy Brother Hobby motors anymore. I did have that Brother Hobby 2004 that the motor shaft slipped, and that kind of sucked. I haven't had a motor shaft slip in a long time, so I won't be buying Brother Hobby motors anymore. Plus, they screwed them over, so that's a good enough reason for me not to buy Brother Hobby anymore. Not telling you what to do, but yeah, do with that as you would like. Michael Blade says, what's up? Better late than never. Indeed. Northern Tier FPV with a $10 super chat. He says, great stuff, man. Thanks. You're certainly welcome, Northern Tier. Great Menace logo. I see you. Pedro Tome says, dry lube. License to Drive. I was saying dry grease. License to Drive says, you could start live streams with a 10 to 20 minute tutorial enabling you to cut it for a separate video afterwards. This would allow people to ask relevant questions during the tutorial. I've been meaning to do that, but yeah, time is at a premium right now. I will download these streams that I specifically want to cut up into shorts, but I'm still struggling to find the time. Havboard says it's thick TWSS. Oh, that's cool. The dry lube or whatever, I guess, is thick. That makes sense because you don't want it to get flung out of these bearings because they spin at 10 million miles an hour RPM. BeepTube says, I think the Fresnel zone got you, flying that low over water and reeds, having obstructions and reflective surfaces in the bottom half of the primary signal path gets much worse at distance. I think BeepTube was talking about that on Monday's stream. That's an interesting effect. I've seen people fly really low to water, really far out. So I don't know, but it's gone. I'll put a diversity crossfire on it and I'll do it again. And if it happens again, then maybe we'll be on to something. Rob Oxenden says, could be a bent shaft. Weirdo the Skateboard says, so I might have clicked the bind button on my modula. How bad have I fucked it, or can I save it? I don't see why that'd be a problem. Weirdo, just rebind it. You should be good. Mudderton says, if I'm getting a lot of desyncs, is there any other way to tell if it's motors or ESC other than replacing one or both? This is a 7-inch, so money. Best thing to do, Metal, is to figure out which corner is desyncing. It should always desync on the same corner. If it's desyncing on a different corner each time, it's definitely the ESC. Not definitely, but it's definitely not the motors. 99% of the time it's going to desync on the same corner every time. So get your DVR going or get an HD camera on there, watch the footage in slow motion, and you'll notice that the footage dumps to one corner every time. Take whatever corner that is, let's say it's motor 2 in the right front, take that motor and switch it with another motor and see if the problem chases. I know this sucks because you're going to have to crash the rig a bunch, but just get it to desync when you're nice and low to the ground. If the problem chases, then the motor is the issue. If the problem stays on that same corner, the ESC is the issue, and you're done. And that's how you troubleshoot that. You can probably also troubleshoot it with black box, but just troubleshoot it mechanically, you'll be good. Athix says, lost a Tiny Hawk freestyle trying to Matty flip the bridge in Falls Park. That's nothing compared to a glide, it's true. But losing a rig is it sucks. It sucks a big bag of donkey dicks. Weirdo the Skateboard says, Tiago, still waiting for CiottiFPV to make a if you want to talk to me, don't sticker. Yes, I still have that clamped. Tiago says, I know it's awful what I'm suggesting, but we need an oh my god sticker. Oh,
Yes.
HMIE.
Oh my god, he just did some crazy shit. Like, oh my god, y'all, they did some crazy shit.
Journey Droid says, lost my first quad with the Aero 2 in 2013, first plane flew to the grave 2006. Ooh my god, Patrick, CiottiFPV. Journey Droid says, Frank Nicholas says, focus desk cameras. Rob Oxenden says, focus late to the party. Who's your guest? This is P. Richard Scott from the chat. It's Patrick, one of the amazing local pilots that I'm very good friends with. Weirdo with a Skateboard says, first video, one big fuck off video from the first 15 days or 15 Wii videos, or just burn it with fire. Rob Oxenden says, compressed air is the best way to remove loose stuff from magnets without damage. Very good point. Compressed air, I should get a can. I probably
And
know.
the alcohol that is residue left over, I use high, like 99. You can get lab grade 94, 95, 96%.
I saw 98%
Yeah.
in Target the other day.
Wow.
It costs more money.
Is that all they had?
They had
Well,
that
still
and
relatively.
94%.
Well, if you leave your
All over.
components, a lot of guys will, and Cynic was telling me this, if you leave your components submerged in it, can really cause a problem. It will eventually eat
Oh, really?
ether tracers and all this stuff away. So, especially on the circuit boards and things.
Yeah.
So, I don't know about the winding.
Don't leave your electronics in isopropyl. It's all bad.
So good to blow it out,
Just-
I guess is a good thing.
Just toothbrush it. Rob Oxenden says, damn, I thought I drank too much. Rob Oxenden also says, hey, gangly man, fix your focus. All right, I think I'm somewhat caught up. We're going to end it. Let me go down to the bottom, make sure I didn't miss anything. Have boards. We got that. Tiago says, have you tried on these to remove the ball bearings? $5 aluminum alloy, AliExpress. Let's take a quick look. Yes, so I did buy one of these. It doesn't. So those are more bearing pushers than they are bearing pullers. Technically speaking, you could take this thing. I'll show it to you again. You could, technically speaking, take this thing, put it into the hole, and you try to rock it out, and you try to pull the bearing out like that, but the bearings are really tight in the stator, and I've never gotten these things to work. And again, smashing it out from the bottom, it doesn't matter because the bearing's broken anyway. So just smash it out with an M2.5 at an angle, and you'll be good to go. I have tried these though, and they just don't. These are more bearing installers than pullers.
Being the first person to crash the 250, can you give us an update on?
250 has been crashed some, held up really well. It's totally fine. It wasn't a huge crash, but it's getting crashed more and more, and it's holding up absolutely fine.
You enjoying it?
It flies really good.
Did you change your rates back from my profile? This is so flying so weird. Remember when you said?
There's a chance I didn't.
If you've been unimpressed with it,
did.
You may find that. I think you put me on profile too.
It's been good though. The 4-inch arms, at 280 grams all up weight, it seems to be pretty strong. I haven't bashed it hard into concrete yet though. I think when I do, it'll break an arm. Just to be totally honest with you guys, maybe it won't. But yeah, so far I've been pretty impressive. Flies great. 280 grams flies closer to a 5-inch rig than 200 grams. Go figure. 280 grams with 3.5-inch props is a good ratio of all up weight to prop surface area. But what I'm really noticing is that heavier, like weight is weight. Like weight is throw. Weight is smoothness. Making our rigs heavier makes them fly closer to 600 gram 5-inch freestyle rigs. Kind of, duh, but, but yeah, 280 grams on 3.5-inch props is a great combo. I love how that thing flies. I think it does fly a little bit better than the Rip Squeaks at 210 on 3-inch props, but I think once we get a better quality 3-inch T-mount prop, that gap will close up quite a bit. But weight is weight. A heavier rig is going to fly closer to a really heavy rig, and that's what I think I'm feeling with this over anything else. So it kind of stands to reason that the ultimate micro is 249 grams on a 3.5-inch prop. More testing needed. Journey Droid says, Bell's slipping on my Zing 222F7s. That sucks. Usually Zing motors are really reliable. Bobby Bags has to go. Thanks, CiottiFPV, and everybody. Good night. Thanks for hanging, Bobby. Tiago says, saving us money. See that? Journey Droid says, Wheels Manufacturing has bearing pullers, but are they small enough? I've yet to find a bearing puller that will dump all the way down to 4 millimeters. That's what our motor shafts are. And again, the bearings are already broken. That's why we're removing it. Who cares if you break it even more when you remove it? Last comment of the night, License to Drive says, add up the night's donations to the Mac Fund. Ooh, thank you, brother. Thank you. So we've got 5 and 10 and 15, and we're just going to say 20, 25. Tiago, what are 30 reals? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I'm going to say 30. I think it's 5. And then I'm going to say 40 for License to Drive. 45 for Remy Tim. 50 for Riot 9. And what did I just say? 50? And we've got another 5 for Bobby Bags. That's 55. Northern Tier with 10, 65. Time to do some math.
Did you say Rials? R-I-Y-A-L-S?
85.
Those
there
are
we
Saudi.
go.
$8.
$8.
If it's a Rial.
I got a little bit wrong. Yeah, reals. Close enough. 1785. Thank you, boys and girls. CiottiFPV.com has a million ways that you can support me. I appreciate every single one of you. Click some buttons down here. Thumbs ups, likes, comments, bell, all that good stuff. GemFan Hobbies in the house. Just as I'm about to sign off. License to Drive. We got that. Here's some more flying from my favorite spot in Buckhead. This was actually a day that I was hanging out with Joshua Bardwell. Why did it go full screen like that? That's not what I wanted at all. Don't go to the end. What are you doing? There's Joshua's car. Thanks for hanging out, boys. CiottiFPV.com, all the things. I'll see you guys Friday at 7 Eastern for, I don't know. You know what I am going to be doing? Is a glide scratch build, because I have to build a new one to replace the cinematic rig that's at the bottom of the sea. So there is going to be a glide scratch build coming.
And you have GPS module.
And I'll put a GPS on it. Enjoy some flying. I love you, boys and girls. Oh shit! I need to get some music up here. You can just listen to the beautiful sounds of Session 5 microphone. Bye bye.